So our lead is going to be Alex Sawatzky. I hope I pronounced that right. Special Projects Manager and Adjunct Professor, School of Arctic and Subarctic Studies at the Labrador campus. We also have Jodie Lane, Director of Education, Naturalist Government, PhD student, Arctic and Subarctic Futures, and Academic Council member, School of Arctic and Subarctic Studies, Labrador campus. We have Sylvia Moore, Associate Professor, School of Arctic and Subarctic Studies in Labrador campus. So I will hand it over to Alex now, and we'll get started. We have about a 50-minute session. We'll leave about 10 minutes at the end, I think, for questions. And if you have anything else, you can just let me know via group chat as well. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Is everyone able to see the screen? Get some thumbs up. Yep, awesome. Okay. So as noted earlier, Ashlee will unfortunately be unable to join us today, and she sends her regrets, but she has set us up very well for a wonderful presentation and facilitated discussion, and I couldn't be surrounded by any better women to be talking about our programs and the Labrador campus with all of you today. So today, I'll start with a bit of an overview about the Labrador campus and our programs and our process of program development. And then we'll move into a facilitated discussion where you'll hear lots more from Jodie and Sylvia about their specific roles, perspectives, and contributions to the pieces that I'll introduce right now. So the Labrador campus has a core mission and mandate to create and deliver place-based and Northern and Indigenous-led programming. And together with Innu and Inuit partners, we have designed and delivered innovative programming that's interdisciplinary, involves classroom-based and land-based educational components that follow non-traditional scheduling formats as well to celebrate seasonal learning and promote key critical leadership skills that are needed in a rapidly changing North. So, with that, I'd like to start with acknowledging the lands and places and caretakers of the lands and places that we're learning on, with, and from. So the Labrador campus of Memorial is situated on the homelands of the Innu and Inuit. And throughout our programming development, throughout the actual facilitation of our programming, we recognize these ancestral and continued ties to the lands and waters, upholding the inherent rights of Innu and Inuit partners, and both past and present, for access to and self-determination in research, education, and reciprocal knowledge sharing. So a little bit about the Labrador campus for those who may not be as familiar. It's the newest campus of Memorial and was established in January of 2022. So we've officially been a campus for about just over 2 years. We're home to the School of Arctic and Subarctic Studies, as well as the Pi Center for Northern Boreal Food Systems, a really fabulous farm that's connected to the campus and that involves a lot of wellness programming and educational programming around food security and food sovereignty in the North. We offer place-based, Northern-focused, and Indigenous-led education and research opportunities that are embedded in the beauty and brilliance of the peoples and places of Labrador. This is a photo of the front of our building. We opened our doors to this new campus space in September of 2022. And since then, I've been growing our education, research, and our farm, as well as upholding community responsibilities. We also have a really innovative shared governance and collaborative program development, and we'll hear more about that from Jodie and Sylvia later on. Our programs right now, since our official establishment in 2022, include a newly launched Bachelor of Arctic and Subarctic Interdisciplinary Studies, and we'll be welcoming our first cohort of undergraduate students in September 2024. We launched our Arctic and Subarctic Futures graduate program in May 2023. And we're welcoming our second cohort of graduate students in just a few short weeks. We also have a Bachelor of Science in Nursing satellite site that was established in 2022, and we've been working constantly on partnered offerings as well as micro-credentials. Our vision for our academic programming ultimately is to create Northern-focused and Indigenous-led educational opportunities that bring together the people who will work on the key challenges and priorities of the North, in the North, by the North. And this was a response to years and years and years of many conversations and work with partners and communities in the North who really emphasized the importance of this, of having programs that were created by and for their priorities and responded to them on an ongoing, kind of flexible, adaptable basis. We built from the already present research and educational strengths of faculty, staff, and communities in Labrador, and there are significant strengths that we are continuously learning and aspiring towards supporting. And we integrate classroom-based, land-based, and experiential learning opportunities. And this is really important. It goes back to honoring the caretakers and places and stories of the land and the people who call it home, and involving ways that, or acknowledging how learning occurs outside of the classroom as well. So in all of our programs, we really try to honor this. At the heart of our academic programming, it's premised on learner-centered education that celebrates the individual gifts and champions aspirations of each student. Students are so much more than just their student identities, and bring a lot of really unique gifts and experiences to developing and participating in our programs. And we're constantly learning and iterating from them. The structures that we've created reflect and respect the cultures, histories, and seasonal rhythms of life in Arctic and subarctic regions, creating a much more integrated thematic approach to learning. And again, we'll hear more about this from specifically Sylvia later to talk about pedagogical approaches to our programming here. We focus strongly on co-development, Indigenous pedagogies and teachings, and promote whole person flourishing. So again, going back to acknowledging that people are more than just their studies, and when they graduate from their programs, they will bring with them so much more than what they've learned in the classroom, even on the land, and with each other, and will bring that with them to better themselves and their communities and those around them. We have a strong focus on Arctic and subarctic regions, and our programs are Northern-based and Northern-led, and I can't emphasize this any more strongly. We have a distinct emphasis on Labrador and subarctic regions, and this does not currently exist across the country or the circumpolar north. And that's what really makes us unique and stand out, and it fills a significant gap and responds to a lot of opportunities for Arctic and subarctic programming that is developed by and for people in Arctic and subarctic regions. Our courses and modules are co-designed around Indigenous and land-based pedagogies, and this is throughout the course creation, development, and/or delivery. We focus on interdisciplinarity throughout all of our courses and modules in our programs. And so we don't have a specific disciplinary focus through any course or program, and involve all parts of the brain, all parts of the spirit and soul when it comes to learning. Our programs promote strong critical thinking, reading, writing, and communication skills that are focused on developing strong communicators and leaders. We also emphasize that learning objectives and outcomes must always meet Northern and Indigenous identified education needs and priorities that contribute to a flourishing North. So all of these learning objectives and outcomes are interconnected, support each other, and we continuously revisit and go back to them to make sure that we're responding appropriately to these needs and priorities. So I wanted to share a little bit about our Arctic and subarctic futures graduate programs specifically. In this program, there are a few different learning pathways that students can choose from. So we have master's pathways, so both coursework and thesis-based masters, as well as a PhD pathway and a diploma pathway. All of the pathways involve in-person intensives and virtual live courses, and integrate interactive learning environments throughout it all. The Bachelor of Arctic and Subarctic Interdisciplinary Studies, our new undergraduate program, is structured in a way that, again, reflects the flexible and seasonal learning patterns of northern regions and involves 12 six-week interdisciplinary modules, as well as self-directed learning. And we've structured it in a way that falls within a semester schedule, but within each semester, there are 2 modules that students will be completing, and then courses are kind of nested within those modules. The courses themselves involve land-based, experiential, and classroom-based experiences, and ensuring that all credit hour requirements and things are met, but also that needs and priorities of learners and learning is met as well in terms of Northern and Indigenous-led programming. Again, involve interactive and integrative learning environments. Ultimately, graduates of our programs are currently and will continue to acquire, interpret, synthesize, and navigate with confidence between multiple ways of knowing, doing, being, and learning. They'll also be prepared to work and/or pursue further studies in a variety of settings that support Northern and Indigenous self-determination and flourishing, and will develop and contribute transferable skills in writing, speaking, communication, research, analysis, critical thinking, and knowledge mobilization, as well as be strong and collaborative leaders, particularly within the context of Northern and Indigenous regions, governments, organizations, and communities. So this quote really emphasizes and reflects the heart of our programming and the importance of being in your element when you are learning and engaged in learning environments. We don't think our way into a new kind of living. We live our way into a new kind of thinking. And this is really important throughout both the development of our programs as well as the practice of them. So that is a very quick overview of an immense amount of work and heart and soul that has gone into developing our programs at the Labrador campus. And I'm really excited now to turn it into a facilitated dialogue. So you'll hear less from me and more from Jodie and Sylvia about their perspectives and experiences within all of this as well. So I will stop sharing the screen. And first, I guess, Sylvia and Jodie, was there anything within that introduction that you'd like to add, or anything that I might have missed or misinterpreted?
Not from me, Alex. I think that was a great overview, and I'm sure that we'll add other details just in terms of the facilitated discussion here. So I'm good for now.
Thanks, Sylvia.
Same with me.
Amazing. Well, Jodie, I think I'd like to start with you, and specifically because I didn't touch on our academic council at all. So I'd like for you to share a little bit about the importance of our academic council at the School of Arctic and Subarctic Studies, as well as the co-development that occurs within it. So take it away, Jodie.
Sure thing. Thanks, Alex. As I was introduced at the beginning, my name is Jodie Lane, and I'm the Director of Education with the Nunatziava government. I'm also PhD student, so I've taken classes with the lovely Sylvia and the lovely Alex, who are both amazing, and much of the reason that the program runs so well. But I'm also on the academic council, and it was a few years ago that I was approached, I'm guessing through my role as the Director of Education, and I was, I guess, appointed or nominated by the President of Nunatziava government to sit on the Academic Council as the Indigenous representative for Nunatziava government. I had no clue what I was getting into. My dealings with post-secondary institutions are very long. I've been in my role for 24 years and dealing with post-secondary institutions all the time. at varying levels of engagement, let's say. And so I was cautiously optimistic that Memorial University was actually listening to the recommendations to help to engage more with Indigenous groups and whatnot. So I first sat on the on the meetings, not knowing what I was getting myself into, not knowing what to expect. I was not familiar with the internal operations of any post-secondary institution. And I really, truly, to be honest, didn't even know what my role was on the academic council. But I was welcomed with open arms, and they patiently, I guess, oriented me to the runnings of the academic council meetings. And so, as I said, I was cautiously optimistic, meaning in the back of my head, I was thinking, am I a token checkbox? Okay, we've got our Indigenous rep from NG on the call, so we're good. We can go ahead and do our business. Or was it going to be the opposite, and I was going to be more engaged? And it totally was the opposite. It was engagement like I've never experienced before. In that it didn't take me very long to, and anybody who knows me know I'm a chatterbox, so it didn't take me long to warm up to everybody and feel comfortable giving my opinions, and just very small things that I put my 2 cents in that people around the table didn't know. And that's exactly what this is meant to do. How else would you know unless you had someone from community at your table? So simple things like the way a course might be offered. For example, I was asked a number of years ago by a faculty member to, hey, you should pursue your PhD. Come to MUN, do your PhD. And I basically just said, not unless it's offered through distance. Not, I can't, I love my job too much. I'm not leaving. I have family and responsibilities. And I just kind of put it out of my head. Fast forward to sitting at the academic council table saying, yeah, I'd really love to come back to school, but I need flexibility. And that voice was heard loud and clear. I was involved in the development of what a course looks like now. Hey, it doesn't have to be 12 weeks, exams, papers, finals, get your credit. It can be something different, but what is that something? What does it look like? And the discussions around the table were so rich. Everybody from different backgrounds and different experiences. It was beautiful. I can't say it any differently. And it was so exciting because I was hesitant to say, like, hey, is this actually going to happen? Are we actually going to experience change at this level? Because we talk about change all the time. We talk about what needs to be done. We talk about what institutions need to do to help their students better. And then it always halts because, oh, that doesn't fit in the rules that currently exist. And so I was, again, cautiously optimistic. And then all of a sudden, I'm in the PhD program. And very first, right out of the gate, my first course was with Sylvia, and it was the weekend intensives. That particular course is designed over 3 weekend intensives. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. So we went in May, and then we had our calendars, and we knew the next weekend intensive was in September, and the following was the next March. Blew my mind. Like, wow, MUN is actually doing this. But I had to bring my son to college in September. And oh my gosh, I panicked. I can't take this course. I'm going to have to drop it because I'm going to miss September. And I can't take the summer course because there's a weekend intensive in-person part at the end of August, beginning of September. I'm going to miss that. And so I panicked. And then I spoke to Sylvia. And then it was all done. It was, Jode, just take it next semester, next September. Okay. That's the flexibility. That's exactly the kind of, I guess, modifications or allowances that students need. And all kinds of stuff come up. People have to take their children to post-secondary and set them up in an apartment, or someone has an illness that comes up unexpectedly, or there's all kinds of reasons we may have to adjust our schedules. And the way this program is designed and the way the academic council has come together to really listen to everybody around the table, but especially the Indigenous folks, it's beautiful, and it makes me so proud to be a part of Memorial. And I was not a MUN, I'm not a MUN alumni from I did my undergrad and my master's in 2 separate institutions, thinking, oh, MUN is MUN, everybody goes there, I'm going to go somewhere different. Now I'm so proud to say that I'm a current MUN student, and I'll be very happy to be a MUN alumni one day. But I'm very, very proud of the role that I'm given the opportunity to have at the academic council table. That kind of sums it up. I don't know if Sylvia wants to add anything or Alex wants to add anything. They're both on there with me.
Yeah,
I'll
no,
stop there.
thank you, Jodie. I think that we were all kind of in the same situation when we started the academic council. Like nobody really knew exactly what it was going to look like, but we knew that we wanted it to be very collaborative and very Indigenous-led and Northern focused. And that, you know, we keep repeating that throughout everything, but it's so true. And I think one of the most unique things about our academic council is that the Nunatsiavut government and Nunatuavut Community Council and Innu Nation all have voting membership, and none of our decisions can be made without votes and agreements and support from Indigenous representation. And that is a very key part of all of our decision-making processes. And I know, Jodie, you're also responsible for recruiting a lot of the students in our programs as well, through both your role as a student as well as your role at the Nunatsiavut government. So you're a very integral part of everything that goes on. Sylvia, Jodie mentioned the intensives and your course. So I was wondering maybe if we could segue into talking about the pedagogical underpinnings of that course specifically, but also just approaches to programming in general. Any insights and experiences that you've had with all of that?
Right, absolutely. So the pedagogical approach is really important, and I think it's in many ways the foundation of what the courses look like. So we're really wanting to ensure that students' lived experiences are valued and welcomed into the courses, as well as their local knowledge and their cultural knowledge that they bring with them. So it's very much a co-created, respectful sort of learning environment in terms of knowing that the learners bring much knowledge with them, and that the instructors also have knowledge, and that together we co-create the learning experiences in all of the courses. We're very much wanting to create a learning environment where students are inspired in terms of critical thinking about different ways of knowing and how to interweave different worldviews together, and to really nurture an environment of collaborative learning. And so the course that I teach in particular, which is SAS 6001, People, Place, and Identity. As Jodie mentioned, it runs over 3 weekend intensives. That is across 3 seasons. So that's the important part of those weekend intensives, is that this course is very much tied to land and learning with and immersed in land and all aspects of what we might also refer to as a biosphere. And so we have a spring session, an early fall session, and a winter session as part of that course. And I will talk more about that this afternoon, that we have a session on that course in particular right after lunch today. So I hope that participants in this session will also be able to join us and hear from some of the students, including Jodie. And that the course is meant to be a facilitated learning environment where we share ideas, share knowledges, and move ahead in terms of new learning and new ideas and deeper thinking, both from an academic and a scholarly perspective, as well as from an Indigenous and place-based framework of learning. Yes.
Thanks so much, Sylvia. Yeah, I really I like to think about it as like being a steward of learning. And that is really how, as like we as instructors have approached the course development. And I know that I have learned so much from this group specifically, and I'm looking forward to learning even more as the years go on about just like what resonates the most and how to honor and support what each student is bringing to their own research projects, to the courses themselves. And it's a really collaborative approach to all of this. So Jodie, with that in mind, you already touched on this a little bit, but could you speak a little bit more about what it's like to be in a program that you've co-created and what that experience has been like?
Um, I feel kind of like, well, it's the same kind of feeling I have 24 years working with NG in the education division, and a lot of that being in the post-secondary side of things. I feel very mother hen-like with I call all the applicants, all the students, all the clients, my kids. So like I've got grandmas on there who are my kids, and I have my literal kids on there sometimes. And this is kind of the same type of feeling as that. It's almost a mother hen like. I'm so proud and happy. I sit back sometimes in our class when we're together, and I'll just look around at the rest of the students in our class, and like, we're doing this because of the work we did at the academic council table, and you're sitting here laughing and learning and enjoying yourself and gaining knowledge, but also confidence, because a lot of us were very hesitant to come into a graduate program, whether it's the master's or PhD level, don't know what we're getting ourselves into, but feel comforted by the way that it's designed. So I was very happy. I'm very happy to see in Sylvia's class our assignments that we displayed, and to see everybody coming forward with such beautiful, beautiful work. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, see, I told you you could do it. I told you, I knew that, a sort of thing. So it's very much a mother hen type pride in thinking, yeah, we did it right. We got it right. There's tweaks. There's always going to be tweaks to improve based on student feedback. But man, coming out of the gates, I really say, like, I'm so proud of what Memorial has done in taking this leap to make these significant changes in program delivery and design. It's phenomenal, and I think everybody should take note, and I think everybody should start to kind of do the same sort of thing, because talk about a way to empower your students. By how many times was I told, or us as a collective, we're told, look, you guys are the experts here. We're just guiding you along the way. And that's totally different from when we were doing our undergrad and we were being told, look, listen to me. I'm the expert here and I'm teaching you. And that was something that I guess in Sylvia's class, some people really did struggle with, because we had to unlearn that way of thinking. We had to unlearn the I guess the pressure that we put on ourselves, that pressure of what does the teacher want? What do I have to produce? What is going to get me the marks I need? To, hey, I know who I am and my experiences are valid and they are real and they are worthy of being placed into my work, and having someone encourage that. It was really hard for some students to actually change that mindset. So I think the more that we do this, and seeing that the undergrad program is ready to go, that kind of learning and that kind of teaching is going to be already happening at the undergrad level. So I can only imagine the level of engagement and empowerment when those students or people that go through the bachelor program eventually come into the master's program. So it's just like, I'm so excited for everything that's coming from this.
Sylvia, I'm sure that sense of pride you feel very strongly as well. In your extensive experience in education and specifically Indigenous and Northern education, could you speak a little bit about what it's like to develop new programs that kind of not turn upside down, but challenge a bit of the traditional structures of how programs look?
Absolutely. I don't think there's any well-worn path forward in terms of decolonizing or indigenizing education, and certainly in terms of decolonizing the academy. You know, we're working on that right across Canada at all post-secondary institutions. And the way of how do we bring Indigenous knowledges and place-based knowledges together in an academic institution and keep those rigors and those, I guess some may refer to them as the standards of learning, but at the same time, welcome and value students' cultural knowledge and place-based knowledge and lived experiences, and how do we bring that together? And it's I think to the credit of the students in 6001 that they are such knowledgeable people and professionals. You hear Jodie speaking and you just realize the incredible knowledge and enthusiasm that she has, and so to have her as a student in this course is really quite incredible, and to put all of our knowledge together very respectfully and to create a course where the framework will guide the learning, but at the same time really value and not just welcome, but encourage that that cultural knowledge is brought into the learning space as well, has been a great experience. But I think it's not just my ideas as an instructor in terms of you know, the strategies around doing that, but also how the students themselves enthusiastically bring that in. And together we kind of find our way. So I think that as one course in our grad program, it's just an example of innovation in terms of there is no set way of doing this. We're cutting the path as we go, and I think it's a very collaborative, co-created process, and it's also a very respectful environment in terms of trying things out and speaking openly and sharing. And so it gives me a lot of positive feelings in terms of having had this experience and continuing on to cohort 2, which starts in just a couple more weeks. I'm sure I'll continue to learn with the students and hopefully guide them in a good way.
Yeah, I know it will continue, and the collective sense of like anxiety over like, oh, what's it going to be like? We've been through it now for 1 year, and we got through it together, and I think we've been thriving and flourishing, and it's just made me all the more excited as the years go on. Like Jodie, your cohort being able to come in and teach some courses and eventually run the programs yourselves. I think that we have a very bright, exciting future ahead. Before I turn it over for audience questions, I was wondering, Sylvia and Jodie, if you had any like final thoughts or reflections on how our program, how our campus is different, or anything you'd like to kind of leave everyone with to think about. So Jodie, I'll start with you.
I'm just so thankful to have been brought in to this, because this is it's really interesting seeing it from multiple lenses. As the director of education, I'm very happy to see an institution catering to the needs of the students so wonderfully, the way that Lab Campus has been doing. So it's been really great and it challenged us on our funding support side because the way the delivery is different and the way the credits come out and stuff. So we're changing as well, and we're happy to do so. As the academic council side, I'm really thankful for the opportunity to have that experience and learn so much from everybody, but also be a part of positive change. And then as a student, I'm just like, oh man, I'm so thankful for everybody because you guys are awesome and I'm going to need your support for the next few years. But yeah, thanks for the opportunity to share today.
Thank you so much for sharing. Sylvia, how about you?
Right. I think it's different in terms of going into every course of program development, saying, how can this best take place? What is it we need to keep in mind? How is this being informed by the Indigenous groups and the local people here in Labrador to meet their needs? And at the same time, where is the academic structure in that? So how do we bring these together? And I think that that's a question at all levels of society across Canada. How do we bring knowledge systems together? And it's certainly at the core of reconciliation. And so I think that we're living it here, and it's not something that has pat answers. It's something that's a process, and we're working through it. And it's the academic council that's guiding us, as well as working with the students in each course.
Thank you so much, both of you. With that, I think I'm not sure how the question facilitation will go, but if there's any questions from folks online, feel free to raise your hand or put them in the chat. And for those in the room, I guess I'll turn it over to whoever's facilitating in the room to let us know if there's any questions.
Great, thanks, Alex. Do we have any questions for our panelists? Okay, if you want to introduce yourself and ask your question, that'd be fantastic.
You need the microphone
Oh, you need the mic?
for the
Oh,
recording.
good. I'm a musician besides.
I know, that's because you're on mic, that's because you're mic.
My name is Ivan J. White. I'm the Indigenous Education Specialist with the Office of Indigenous Affairs here at Memorial on the campus, I guess, sort of staff person. And it was just mentioned by Alex that the cohort that Jodie is in will be teaching. Is that the ultimate goal, is to hand it away from any settler teachers and just have lab be taught by, well, this course specifically be taught by people from the land there?
Jodie, did you want to speak to that a bit, just based on your role as Director of Education, like what you would like to see?
Alex, Ashlee always jokes about us coming back to teach. I think it's just, it was just meant to be like, we can come back to teach. I don't think the goal of the Lab Campus is to totally get rid of all the current faculty and have only Indigenous teachers there. I just think that they're excited about the opportunity that now, with more and more going through the graduate studies program, there's 5 of us right now in the PhD program, all Inuit, 4 under Nunatsiavut government and 1 from Nunavut. So that's pretty amazing. And I think just the opportunity in Goose Bay, I know in Labrador in general, capacity is always an issue. So having more people with their doctorates kicking around that may have time to come in and teach a course or co-teach a course or help design courses in the future. I think it's just the excitement of the possibilities of more and more graduates coming out from this program and what we're going to be able to have the opportunity to do.
Any other questions?
Hello, Labrador. This is T.A. Lockford from the School of Human Kinetics and Recreation. And I just wanted to first congratulate you on birthing, facilitating, bringing to fruition your new programs, because I know that that takes a fair amount of work and discussion, and especially to do it in such a collaborative model as you have. Definitely congratulations, and wow, I was very moved to see the plan and for the undergraduate degree program with its emphasis on a different delivery model with seasonality. I teach outdoor education and land-based education, and having students have the opportunity to connect with the land. And I was curious about, what are you imagining? We had a wonderful keynote this morning about ungrading and about thinking about course design and student assessment, and moving away from that. So I'd love to hear some of what you have discussed around as you bring the new undergraduate program into 3D. How do you imagine some of the assessments of students' work or change or leadership abilities will come to, how will that be done?
That's a wonderful question. And I know Sylvia and I specifically have been talking a lot about assessment, especially like my first experience teaching a full course this past semester, just learning about like what that means and what sorts of frameworks we are working within and how we can push the boundaries of those. So Sylvia, you have much more experience in this than I do. So maybe did you want to start us off, and then I'll jump in if needed?
Sure. Well, I think this is an ongoing challenge, and I don't know if I have any specific vision of where we're going, except I know that we need to keep challenging the existing structure. And so in the session right after lunch today, called Let Me Show You What I've Learned, that's what that session is about in terms of the course that I now teach in the graduate program here. So I very much try to create a framework where students can show me what they've learned rather than me setting specific requests. Although at some point we still run into the brick wall of having to submit grades that are based on a specific kind of structure, and so it's still problematic. I've also tried going the route of students assessing themselves and have run into challenges with that in all kinds of ways. So it's a work in progress for me. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I just reiterating the work in progress aspect of it, and I know in the course that I facilitated, it was focused on developing research partnerships and how do you assess that? But the end product of that course was a research proposal. So I tried to integrate a lot of peer learning and peer review aspects throughout the course, so that the class themselves could give each other feedback and assessments on developing their proposals based on what they wanted to see happening in their communities. But Jodie, I don't want to put you on the spot, but like, how did you feel in terms of like assessment and how it's been different for you than other experiences?
I've really, all the courses that I've taken so far, I'm still needing to take Scott's one this summer, but we've had different, with each of the courses, there has been more, one that lean more to the traditional form of assessment, your papers and whatnot, that was a little bit similar to our former experiences in our undergrad, like a traditional, what you would think in a university setting. Sylvia's, again, you'll see this afternoon in the presentation about that specific course and the way that she's designed her assessments, just chef's kiss. Alex's course, and there's a lot of us in Makovic that are in the program, so we chat all the time, and we really appreciated that course because none of us in all of our different experiences have taken a course that was designed in such a way that all of the assignments were pieces of the cumulative end goal, and everybody, there was not one piece of it that was this mountain because it was all broken down so well, and we could help one another. Like Alex said, there was a lot of time for community and discussion and input and whatnot. And so pieces of that did come from who we identified as our research partners or our advisors and all these sorts of things. So a lot of the things that scared us collectively, myself very much included, in designing research proposals or going through the motions of what happens next after our coursework is done was succinctly put together in the way that she designed the assessment for this course. So it was such a relief and such a joy to go through those pieces. Once it was all broken down, they were actually quite manageable in all of our busy lives and schedules. And it was really fun to do. I don't know if the rest of them will always agree with me on that, but I had a lot of fun doing this course. And that's what it's supposed to be. That's your learning is supposed to be enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm glad you had fun, Jodie. And I think like that's probably an element of the assessment design with the undergraduate program as well, wanting to make sure like, yes, honoring people in place, but also like making learning enjoyable and something that people want to be doing. So like Sylvia said, work in progress, and we are continuing that progress. I see a question in the chat. I know we're running out of time, but Garrett, you've had your hand up for a while.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was a bit worried. Sorry for the chats earlier. I had to sort of have one ear listening to another meeting, and I accidentally posted something that was meant for the other meeting. And I was worried my mic wouldn't work. But thank you very much. I think all of this just sounds amazing. So much has been implemented, and it sounds like everything's going really well. So I mean, just congratulations to everybody. And I'm connected to some students who have taken a couple of the courses remotely as electives, the 6002 and 6003 courses. But my question is one about resourcing. It's about, do you feel like you have enough, teaching units, people power, funding for staff to offer these programs sustainably going into the future? And if so, is it all right if I ask, where, how did you get it? How did you get that support?
It's a big question to end with. Thank you, Garrett, though, for your kind words. We are, again, work in progress, I guess, is the quick answer to that. But Sylvia, you have more like in-depth experience with this. I know Ashlee, who couldn't be here, could speak to this a little more, so we can definitely pass these questions onwards. But yeah, Sylvia, did you want to take a stab at answering?
Well, at this point, we're an established campus of Memorial, so we do have faculty here, a very small contingent of faculty, and are in the process of a search committee is looking for one more faculty member. Is it sustainable? Yes, but how that will grow, I don't think I'm in a position to speak to Memorial's funding and staffing and those sort of things. I think that's a upper management kind of issue, not a faculty member to speak to. Only that the enthusiasm and the passion is here for the work that we do. And I just look forward to us continuing to grow and to meeting the needs of the students of Labrador and the subarctic and Arctic and any other students who might apply to our programs.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your questions. That ends our session today.